The first thing I saw when I turned into my driveway was my truck crushed so bad I honestly thought for half a second I was looking at somebody else's vehicle. I just sat there, engine running, hands still on the steering wheel, staring through the windshield while my brain tried to catch up. My blue Silverado was folded in on itself like a soda can. Hoed bent upward. Driver's side smashed low into the tire. Windshield cracked clean across. Then I saw the bulldozer tracks pressed deep through the dirt beside my driveway, and that was the moment I realized no accident happened here. Somebody did this. On purpose. My name's Owen Carter. I'm 46, and I've been a plumber around Franklin, Tennessee for more than 20 years. Nothing glamorous about it. Long hours, muddy crawl spaces, busted pipes at midnight, tools rattling in the passenger seat, and coffee strong enough to strip paint. 3 years ago, my Uncle Ray passed and left me his place. 2 acres. Old cedar house built sometime in the 70s. Cracked driveway. Being set. Back porch swing that squeaked every time the wind shifted. Not impressive, but solid. And it had one thing Uncle Ray was weirdly proud of, a private deep water well. Best groundwater in the county, according to him. Behind my property sat Willow Creek Estates. 48 expensive homes. Big stone entrances. Perfect landscaping. Matching mailboxes. Luxury SUVs lined up like a dealership. And sitting closest to my fence was their pride and joy, a huge community pool with bright blue underwater lights and decorative waterfalls running every night like some boutique hotel. I never cared, never complained, didn't care about the parties, didn't care about the noise, didn't care when residents glanced over the fence like my place lowered their property values. I minded my business, worked hard, paid my bills, went home. That Tuesday, I'd spent most of the day replacing a busted water heater and rerouting pipe in a crawl space hot enough to feel like an oven. I was filthy, exhausted, ready for dinner and a shower. Instead, I pulled in and found my truck destroyed. There was a laminated note tucked under the wiper blade. I pulled it off and read it standing in the gravel. Unauthorized vehicle parked in active construction zone. Violation documented. Dean Holloway, President, Willow Creek HOA. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because sometimes when you get that angry your body reacts wrong. I followed the bulldozer tracks toward the back fence. That's where I found Dean, standing beside a crew widening a gravel access road behind the clubhouse. Golf polo tucked in. Sunglasses. Clipboard. Like he was managing some luxury resort expansion. He saw me coming and barely reacted. I held up the note. You run over my truck? He glanced at it, then at me. You parked in our work zone. I pointed at the survey stake sticking out of the dirt 3 feet away. That's my land. He shrugged. Small shrug. Barely moved. Then said, you should have moved it. That hit harder than yelling. Just the casual way he said it. Like my truck didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. I stepped closer. You crossed my property line. Dean gave me one of those polished HOA smiles. Owen, let's be realistic. Your place already creates enough concern around here. He motioned toward my trailer. My shed, plumbing materials stacked under a tarp. Then added, if county inspectors start paying attention, you may end up with bigger problems than one truck. Then he turned his back on me. Conversation over. Like I was dismissed. I stood there with my hands clenched so tight my fingers hurt. I wanted to yell. Wanted to call the sheriff. Wanted to drag him by that polo shirt over to the fence post and make him read the survey marker out loud. But anger burns fast, and plumbing teaches patience. Water doesn't force anything. It waits, builds pressure, finds the weak point, then moves. So I went inside, washed up, made coffee, and pulled open Uncle Ray's old filing cabinet. That cabinet was a museum. Receipts from the 90s. Permits. County records. Handwritten notes, warranty papers, everything. Took me over an hour. Then I found it. A contract, signed between Uncle Ray and Willow Creek Estates 4 years earlier. I sat down at the kitchen table and read every line. Then read it again. And suddenly Dean's attitude made sense. Because Willow Creek's pool, their irrigation, their sprinkler systems, all depended on my private well. The HOA had been paying monthly for access. No ownership, no easement, no permanent claim, just a renewable agreement. And halfway down page 3 was one line that changed everything. Service may be terminated with written notice in event of property interference or breach of good faith conduct. I leaned back in the chair and laughed out loud. Dean spent all afternoon acting like I had no leverage. Meanwhile, his entire neighborhood depended on a pump sitting 40 yards behind my porch. I typed a notice. Simple. Professional. Printed it. Signed it. Walked it over and dropped it in Dean's mailbox. Then I headed straight for the pump house. Stale door. Main valve. Pressure controls. Everything exactly where Uncle Ray left it. I shut down the auxiliary line. Turned the valve slowly until it sealed. Then locked the wheel with a steel industrial padlock. The metal click echoed inside that little concrete room. Quiet. Clean. Final. No jilling. No threads. Just pressure shifting. Exactly where it belonged. The next afternoon my phone rang. Unknown number. Woman's voice. Sharp. Mr. Carter? This is Willow Creek Management. Residents are reporting pool circulation failure. I leaned against my work van and smiled. Sorry to hear that. We need access restored immediately. Do you? Silence. Then I hung up. That evening I sat on my back porch with a glass of sweet tea and watched Willow Creek start unraveling. Lights flickering around the pool equipment. Maintenance crews checking pumps. Residents gathering. Phones out. And Dean Holloway pacing back and forth near the gate barking into his cell. For the first time since I inherited Uncle Ray's place, that perfect, expensive neighborhood didn't look polished anymore. It looked nervous. And deep down, I had a feeling they were only just beginning to understand exactly how expensive that bulldozer ride was about to become. By the next morning, Willow Creek didn't look like Willow Creek anymore. It still had the stone entrance. Still had the luxury cars parked in polished driveways. Still looked expensive. But that perfect calm feeling the neighborhood always carried gone. A maintenance truck sat half crooked by the clubhouse. 2 pool contractors were arguing near the equipment room. Residents kept stopping by the fence, staring at the water, whispering. And Dean Holloway looked like a man trying very hard not to panic. From my porch, I could already see the water line dropping. Just enough to expose a pale strip of tile around the edge. Nothing dramatic yet, but enough. Enough for everyone to notice. My phone rang before breakfast. Dean, I let it ring, then answered. Owen. His voice was controlled but tight. There appears to be a service interruption. I looked over the fence. A woman in tennis clothes was pointing at the pool while another resident filmed with her phone. No interruption over here. Pause. Then the community needs access restored. I took a sip of coffee. Then sounds like the community's got a problem. And I hung up. By afternoon, the pumps were completely dead. No circulation. No refill. No movement. And Tennessee summer doesn't give you much time. Leaves drifted across the surface. Pollen settled. Dead bugs started floating near the steps. By evening, the water already looked cloudy. That night, my neighbor Delaney came over carrying 2 beers. Retired electrician. Lives on the other side of my property. Knows every rumor before it becomes official. He leaned on the porch rail and looked over toward Willow Creek. Dean's got 3 contractors trying to bypass your line. Good luck. Delaney laughed, then took a sip. You know he's been telling folks your uncle gave permanent access? That caught my attention. Really? Yep. Been saying for years that water was guaranteed. That explained everything. Dean didn't think he was pushing me. He thought the well already belonged to them. And he'd repeated that story so many times he actually believed it. By day 3, things got ugly. The shallow end started turning green. At first, just around the corners. Then around the steps. Then algae spread across the edges. The smell came next. Warm standing water and chlorine gone stale. Mosquitoes everywhere. Residents started posting online almost immediately. Delaney texted screenshots. Why is the pool green? Why are sprinklers off? Why are mosquitoes all over the neighborhood? And that sprinkler issue mattered. Because the lawns were changing too. Willow Creek lawns usually looked like magazine covers. Perfect edges. Bright green. Flower beds trimmed clean. Now patches were drying out. Grass yellowing. Hydrangeas drooping. And panic spread fast. Because people there didn't just buy homes. They bought appearance. They bought image. And image was falling apart right in front of them. Dean showed up at my gate late that evening. No sunglasses. No clipboard. No smile. Just angry. He stepped through without asking. You're creating a serious problem. I stayed seated on the porch. Am I? You shut off a shared utility. It's not shared. The neighborhood depends on it. I looked at him. My truck depended on not getting crushed. His jaw tightened. We can settle damages. With the HOA that called my truck illegally parked? He stepped closer. This is getting bigger than it needs to. No, I said calmly. You made it bigger when your bulldozer crossed my fence line. He looked toward the pump house, then back at me, and I could literally see the realization hit him. No easement, no override, no emergency access, nothing. He had no leverage. He left without another word. Day for brought county vehicles. Health department. Apparently residents filed complaints. Standing water. Mosquito breeding. Public health concerns. The inspectors walked the pool deck while residents stood nearby watching. An hour later, notices went up. Temporary citation. Immediate action required. Dean argued with him so loudly I could hear him from my porch. Didn't matter. The paperwork stayed. And here was the problem. He couldn't drain the pool, because draining meant refilling, and refilling meant my well. By evening, rumors spread fast. 2 homeowners were already considering listing early. Nobody wanted buyers walking through Willow Creek while the neighborhood centerpiece smelled like swamp water, and the lawns kept browning. The waterfall stayed off. Pool lights stayed dark. Even the streets felt quieter. No parties. No music. Just tension. By day 5, I got my truck estimate back. Frame damage. Windshield. Paint. Not cheap. Then, I added survey costs. Property cleanup. Lost work time. Everything clean and documented. After that, I wrote a new contract. Monthly rate increased. 12 months prepaid. Quarterly inspections at HOA expense. Written approval for any equipment near my property. Any future damage voids the agreement. No refund. Simple. Clear. Fair. Just before sunset, Dean came back. This time with Patricia from finance, Aaron from the board, and another older resident. Dean actually knocked. That alone almost made me laugh. I opened the door. Nobody smiled. I handed him the envelope. He opened it. Read the invoice. Then read the contract. Then read it again. Patricia's face changed immediately. Aaron looked straight at Dean. Dean folded the pages. This is outrageous. I leaned against the doorframe. No. This is paperwork. This feels like extortion. I shook my head. No. Extortion is illegal. This is a bill and a service contract. You can say no. He stared at me, then looked toward the pool behind the clubhouse. Green. Still. Mosquitoes buzzing. Then back at the papers. And if we decline? I nodded toward the citation taped near the gate. County already gave you the deadline. Nobody spoke. Just cicadas buzzing in the trees. A useless sprinkler clicking somewhere in the distance. Patricia finally broke the silence. Quiet voice. Dean. He ignored her, still staring at me, trying to figure out if I'd blink. I didn't. Finally, he tucked the paperwork under his arm. We'll have legal review this. Please do. Then they turned and walked back toward Willow Creek. And I stood there on the porch while the sun dropped low over the trees, watching the blue tile disappear under green water, watching board members whisper, watching Dean Holloway realize that for the first time since he became HOA president, he wasn't controlling anything anymore. And I had a feeling the next 24 hours were about to hit harder than anything he expected. That night felt strangely quiet. No shouting, no Indians, no people pacing behind the fence. Just crickets, wind moving through the trees, and that heavy stillness you get right before something finally breaks. I sat on Uncle Ray's porch swing with a glass of sweet tea and watched Willow Creek from the dark. Their pool lights were off. Water looked almost black now. Every now and then somebody would walk out to the gate, stare at the surface for a second, then head back inside. Even from where I sat, you could feel tension hanging over that whole neighborhood. And I'll be honest, for the first time all week, I wasn't angry. I was calm, because everything had already been said. The truck was crushed. The property line was crossed. The contract was clear, and now the pressure was sitting on Dean Holloway's shoulders, right where it belonged. The next morning my phone rang a little after 6. Unknown Nashville number. I answered. Mr. Carter? Professional male voice. This is Daniel Mercer with Mercer and Lane representing Willow Creek Estates. I stepped out barefoot onto the porch. Sun barely coming up. Coffee still hot in my hand. Morning. I reviewed the survey, photographs, and existing water agreement. Short pause. Then he exhaled. My recommendation to the board is immediate compliance. I smiled. Smart. Then he added something better. 3 homeowners filed complaints against the HOA board last night. There are concerns over property value and failure to maintain community amenities. That made me lean against the rail. Apparently people were panicking harder than Dean admitted. Then came the final blow. Insurance denied preliminary coverage. Reason? Construction crews entered private property before the utility dispute, meaning Dean had no backup, no coverage, no easy way out. That call lasted maybe 4 minutes. But when it ended, I knew exactly how the day would go. Around 8:30, Dean's SUV rolled into my driveway. This time he didn't come storming up, didn't slam the door, didn't posture. He just stepped out slow. Patricia was with him. Aaron too. And all 3 of them looked tired. Dean stopped at the porch steps, held out a folder. We reviewed everything. I nodded. He handed me the transfer confirmation. Truck damage paid. Survey fees paid. Cleanup costs paid. Every dollar. Then Patricia quietly handed over another document. I looked down. They'd approved the new service agreement. Only they changed one thing. Instead of 1 prepaid year, they voted 5 quarterly payments. Locked in. I looked up. Patricia gave me a tired smile. We felt stability was worth paying for. Translation? Nobody trusted Dean anymore, and they wanted this fixed fast. We signed on the porch. No handshake, no small talk, just paperwork, silence, and bruised pride. When we finished, Dean looked at me, really looked at me, then said, "You happy now?" His voice sounded different, less angry, more worn out, like this whole thing aged him 10 years. I thought about it, then told him the truth. No, he frowned. I am relieved. He didn't answer. So I added, "You saw an older house next to your neighborhood and figured you could do whatever you wanted." That was the problem. That hit him. He looked down, then turned around and walked away. Didn't say another word. I waited about 15 minutes, then headed to the pump house. Steel lock came off. Door opened. Cool concrete smell inside. I wrapped my hand around the valve and turned it. Slow. Pressure gauge climbed. Tick, tick, tick. Then the line kicked on. That deep underground rush. Water moving again. Strong and steady. Within seconds, I heard Willow Creek wake back up. Pumps humming. Valves engaging. People yelling instructions. By lunchtime, the place looked like a disaster cleanup zone. Pool trucks everywhere. Chemical crews unloading supplies. Hoses running nonstop. Workers scrubbing algae off tile. Residents standing around watching like it was a neighborhood event. Delaney wandered over with coffee and laughed. Well, they sure found motivation. I laughed too. And honestly, I finally breathed. The fight was over. Balance restored. A week later, my truck came back from the shop. Fresh paint. Straight frame. Looked even better than before. I parked in the exact same spot beside the fence. On purpose. Partly because it was my land. Partly because I knew Dean would notice. Then about 2 weeks later, Delaney came over grinning like Christmas morning. Dean resigned. I nearly dropped the wrench I was holding. Apparently the board turned on him fast. Too much money lost. Too much heat from homeowners. Health citations. Dead landscaping. Repair costs. Legal bills. And word got around quickly that he caused every bit of it by crossing onto private property. That kind of embarrassment sticks in a neighborhood like Willow Creek. A few days later, there was a knock on my front door. I opened it. Laura Benson, new HOA president, holding a fruit basket, an actual fruit basket with ribbon and everything. I laughed before I could stop myself. She laughed too. I know, this felt ridiculous halfway here. I took it, still appreciated. Then she glanced toward the fence. We'd like to start fresh. I nodded. That sounds good. Then she said something that stayed with me. Dean confused being next door with having authority. And she was right. That's exactly what happened. This was never really about a truck, or water, or a pool. It started because somebody looked at a smaller house beside a luxury neighborhood and assumed the guy living there mattered less. That he'd stay quiet, take the damage, move on. Dean saw muddy boots and plumbing tools and figured I'd fold. What he forgot was simple. Property lines don't care how expensive your house is. Contract don't care what title you gave yourself. And water definitely doesn't care who thinks they're in charge. Now, every month Willow Creek's payment lands right on schedule. Never late. Laura waves when she drives by. People mostly keep to themselves. And on quiet evenings, I still sit on Uncle Ray's old porch swing with sweet tea in my hand, listening to that while pump hums steady behind the house while blue pool lights glow through the trees. Peaceful, quiet, exactly like it should be. And every now and then, I still hear Uncle Ray's voice. He used to say it every time customers got loud before a repair. Everybody acts tough till they realize who controls the water. Now I want to hear from you. Was I right shutting them down after they crushed my truck and crossed onto my land? Or should I have taken the damage and handled it another way? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because around here, depending who you ask, I'm either the stubborn plumber who protected his property or the guy who turned an HOA's luxury pool into a swamp and taught an entire neighborhood where the line really was.